Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boom and Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry. Today it is episode 54. Shout out to Urlacher going to the Hall of Fame. But we're going to be doing part 2 of the Bears expectation. And as promised, part 2 is going to be more focused on some of the comments that we got from you guys. We want to hear from the fellow Bears fans and what their expectations are after I said mine. And yeah, but before we get into that, again, we're talking about us as Bears fans. I love my Bears fans, but you can be an interesting bunch. You can say some really interesting things in the comment section. But what I would ask of people that listen and continue to listen is that we just respect each other as fans. We're all going to have different opinions. We're going to see things a different way. As I like to say, people fan in their own way. And that's okay. We shouldn't all think the exact same thing. The only thing that should connect us as Bears fans is that we want to see the best for the Bears. And if that's your goal, then you should be able to respect other people's opinions. And that's all I ask. And if you can't, and if you want to be crazy, then I just gotta delete and remove you. So, I don't like that. I do want to hear Bears. I have my opinions. You hear me? That's why I do this. But you also have yours, and I do enjoy listening because sometimes you could just learn something new. But anyway, let's just keep it respectful. So with that being said, let's jump into this. And I did not pre-practice these names, so if I mess somebody up, do not get mad at me, please. Okay, so let's start off number one with, let's see, Landon Canyon? You could tell me how to pronounce that. Landon Canyon wrote, for defense, they expect them to remain previous in the top 10 ranking. Thinks the pass rush will suffer. However, they believe the defense will spend less time on the field, and they'll have more chance to rest because, they'll be given the chance to rest and they'll make more big plays. And in the end, they think it balances out. Expect Jonathan Bullard specifically to win the starting position opposite Hicks and to start establishing himself as a caliber run stuffer. So, and I'll read the rest, but just to reply to that, I think Jonathan Bullard is a great, person to point out. And definitely someone we should spotlight soon. But Bullard is interesting. He's a lot like Shea McClellan in the way that I did not see them fitting with the Bears, but I really liked them coming out of the draft. And I felt very similarly that they took Shea McClellan and put him in a role that wasn't right for him, and it really deterred his confidence and his development. And Jonathan Bullard has shown a couple things, but I don't think he's nearly what he would have been had he went to a better system that fits him. And so having him trying to bulk up and be this 3-4 end when he had like a level 5 get off, if you watch my draft stuff, then level 5 is the highest it gets, and he gets off the ball quick. And I really thought he was going to be a disruptive 3-tech. Putting him into our system, I just don't think he had the anchor or the style that fit. And so he had to suffer from that, but he's still around. He still does have that quick twitch ability. It was shown a couple times here and there. And like I said, he has bulked up. So pointing him out is a good one. He's going into pretty much the time where you got to start turning that corner in that third year and showing people, what you really will be. And I still think he is a better fit elsewhere, but if he can show that he fought through adversity and became a great player in our scheme, that's only going to add value to him. So, I agree with you. I don't know if I expect Bullard to do all that, but I agree that Bullard is somebody that you should be looking at. Continuing with Landon's comments on offense, I expect the offense to rank in the top half in points per game and time of possession. Quality and quantity of weapons that we have at the skill positions do not allow for excuses. I'm not sure if it's fair to judge Trubisky yet, but he expects Nagy's scheme to pretty much put him in the successful role. And then he expects Tariq Cohen to finish the season as the lead rusher. I think he's more of a fit for the system, and he's more capable of being the lead back than people give him credit for. So, one of the stats that I pointed out for me personally is time of possession. So Landon points that out as well. But he also says points per game, which is, of course, the number one stat people measure offense by. Top half of the league, I can see top half of the league, because, I think middle of the road is kind of what most people expect as the, bare minimum. And that's just because we have so many weapons. But again, and even I gotta find myself and, sometimes going overboard. We gotta remember this is a whole bunch of new pieces and might not look as cute, right away, but by the end of the year, people expect it to at least be top half. So I can understand what you're saying there. Now, Tariq Cohen leading rusher. I could see it. The only thing I will say is that Jordan Howard, is just too valuable to let his role slip away. Because, he's too valuable as a piece from the past, but also going forward, even if you want to make him trade bait or whatever. I'm not saying that they will, but, you want to be able to still showcase that he's getting better each year. And, not even that, if you feel like you want to bring him back, which I'm sure they would, you want to be able to, let him go out there and see what he can do with Nagy's offense. Now, the thing you gotta remember is that Howard comes, like most people, from spread systems in college. He's a shotgun runner. That was his thing. And downhill, power run, he was able to show that he's a good fit in the NFL, but, his bread and butter comes from the shotgun run. And so, there's some statistics which can be whatever because they say he's a better yard per carry out of shotgun, but then again, it's less runs out of shotgun. So you can take that for what you will, but I think that, it'll be more natural for him. And I think with the pace moving a lot quicker, he'll be able to gash people a little more. So, I wouldn't be so sure to say that Tariq is the better fit, over Jordan Howard, but I think they might be just as equal. So we'll have to see. But anyway, appreciate the comment, Landon. Moving on down, we got Golden Ataria. I want to say that's right. Now, I will say, wrote a whole bunch, so I'm going to just summarize it, because that's a lot to read. So some of the sentiments are the same though. People, Golden pretty much expects us to improve offense, specifically citing the new weapons that we have and caliber receiver that's a lot higher than what we had previously. Points out that Anthony Miller was one of his favorite receivers in the draft and expects him to turn in 800 to 1,000 yards, his rookie season. Also talks about, Matt Nagy's offense and the ability to use RPOs, which are run pass options, and maximize the skill set for Mitchell Trubisky. So he feels like that's going to be a big thing. One of the most underrated, moves, in Golden's opinion, is Harry Hiestand, who comes in as the offensive line coach and his pedigree, in college and in the pros. And that he thinks that he's going to get the best out of James Daniels and the rest of the O-line. And then he also points out that, Cohen's going to benefit from the new production, but Jordan Howard really will benefit because they won't be able to load the box like they used to. And that's a good point. I mean, if things go as we plan them to, you can't just squat on the routes anymore, because these receivers got a little more talent, and you can't just load the box and play the run. You're going to have to be a little more balanced. And even if we aren't that vertically inclined like people expect us to be, I still think the way Nagy plays with formations, or at least wants to, then that's going to at least push the teams to make a decision. And that's something I'm always in favor of when you're talking about schematics. When I coach or when we make plays or whatever, I'm always about making the defense tip their hand. Some defense say, okay, well, we don't believe that's a threat. We don't believe your slot receiver's a threat, or you spreading out. We don't believe these guys are threats, so we're going to play one less guy over there. One thing I love to do, is use stack formations. So stack the receivers real far out towards the numbers and make the defense commit. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to bring the safety in the corner all the way over there? Are you just going to leave a corner and let them play halfway between those two? What are you going to do? And so, early on, I think that's going to help. The formations are really going to lighten the box up. However, it's going to depend on how well we execute. Because if we don't execute, people aren't going to be scared. They won't be scared, and they'll still find a way to stack the box. So, but that's a good point by Golden. Also, on defense, Golden pretty much says that, believes that the Bears are going to be top 10, just like they were last year, mainly because of bringing Vic Fangio back and having another season for the defense to gel together. Believes that Roquan Smith is a big addition and will help us maintain the status quo. Insane coverage skills and a good off the ball linebacker that's going to be able to help on each down. And he's picking Roquan for Defensive Player of the Year. So that's a big praise right there. He also points out that he thinks that Fuller's production from last season is unsustainable. But he believes, but he believes he turned the corner last season and will continue to be effective. So that's definitely one of the things to point out. Being effective, being a star, two different things. Adrian Amos came into his own, had some good metrics last year. And he really doesn't see a reason why he won't have another good year. Golden also points out that Pernell McPhee, losing him hurts to an extent, but he had an injury bug. And he says he's looking at Kylie Fitz, who has nice upside if he can stay healthy. All right. Defense, yeah, I agree with most of those things. Roquan is Defensive Player of the Year. We'll see. I think he's a great talent. I'm curious overall to see how the Bears defense do with turnovers and big plays. So that's something that I'm, really looking forward to. Next, we have Mr. Ryan Kennedy, who, writes, one good point I want to definitely point out here is that, Ryan Kennedy says he thinks that the pass rush is going to, come from all over the front seven, more so than individual players. He expects to see more blitzes by Trevathan because we have Roquan Smith, which is a good observation. Basically saying that since we have a linebacker that we know can handle their own, we're able to blitz Trevathan more. Because when Trevathan's your best linebacker or by far your best linebacker, you're hesitant to put him in blitz situations because you want him running the defense. So since you got Roquan who is up to the task, you can blitz Trevathan more. So that's definitely a good point to point out. He also points out that not having Leonard Floyd rush on every down makes him more dangerous when he does pass rush. He doesn't think he's an elite rusher, but he thinks he's better as an all-around linebacker rather than just a pass rush specialist. And so basically saying that it's best to use him all over the field, not just in one place. Another thing he points out that Ryan Kennedy says the stats is something that people easily, get fooled by a look at, but really deception on the defensive side of the ball can yield great results. Basically saying that, as these players continue to learn the defense and advance more in the scheme, that they can use different disguises, different blitzes, different tactics to use or to deceive offenses, which also can yield big plays. And then one thing also Ryan Kennedy points out, that he feels like, Akeem Hicks might have a slight drop off just because teams will be scheming him up and not so much because of his lack of skill, but he'll be seeing basically more double teams and whatnot. And I wonder, Akeem Hicks wasn't just good last year. So I would say that, he saw his fair amount coming into last year, double teams. and he really was clearly one of our better players. So, I don't know that this will be the first year he's getting schemed up to that point. But as you point out, having, new players on the field and maybe scheming to take him out like completely might present new challenges, but I believe in Hicks. I think like you said, stat wise, he might have a little, drop off, but I don't think Hicks is going to drop off at all skill wise, as you pointed out. So yeah, that's pretty much what Ryan Kennedy had to say. Definitely agree with some of those points, some good points to point out. We got Racks United, who writes, on offense, they expect Trubisky to have at least 3,500 yards passing and 20 touchdowns. Says that we can go 5-11, but if he plays well, it shows that we have a future quarterback in the league. Also says that injuries are key. The O-line needs to stay healthy. And he expects or imagines a top 10 O-line if we all are healthy. He expects a big year from Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller to be the best rookie receiver this year. And on defense, he expects a slight regression. Can't imagine that Fuller stays that good. Disagrees with me on Eddie Jackson. A lot of people do. Floyd will be healthy and Roquan will be a key to our defense. Ranked number 10 or 11 is a safe bet. So, a lot of people expect Trubisky. So 3,500 yards and 20 touchdowns is a decent, expectation. I would say that a lot of fans probably expect a lot more than that. And it's not so much Trubisky, more so than I think it is Matt Nagy. People really just expect this, fast-paced offense that's going to put us in position to score a lot. Again, I'm not saying nothing until I see what Nagy's going to do with us, not what he did in the past. So we'll see. But I would say that's some reserve numbers, 3,500 yards and 20 touchdowns. A lot of fans will go higher than that, but I would say as like a basement number, that's good. That's good. 20 touchdowns from 7. 20 touchdowns from 7, that's quite a jump, but with these weapons, I guess it's not hard to imagine. And the O-line, when healthy, top 10, I don't know about that. Just cause our tackles, they're decent. I give more credit than a lot of people do. Our tackles are just decent. And so even at their best, they're just decent and they're not getting in our way. And so I couldn't call that a top 10 O-line personally. And then, as far as defense, pretty much what, I've said, regress slightly, 10 to 11, somewhere in there. Gotta agree with you. Thanks for that comment, Racks United. Let's see. Next up, we got Calvin Johnson, who writes, I think our defense will be better this year, cut off some of the fat, some of the injury-prone rushers. I think we're going to have a pass rush, and Vic is going to be able to do more this year, because last year the defense started to show some things. Everyone will be smarter and the young guys will come in with fresh legs for certain roles. Thinks the secondary is top notch as a whole. Thinks the defense will be top 5 and thinks the offense is at worst 15th. Just too many hungry offensive minds and a quarterback that is dialed in. He has shown ability to function under pressure. Give him a vision and good playmakers, and we might have to watch out. Not even worried that much about the O-line because they did address it in the offensive line. Coach and offensive minds will game plan to make sure that it's tight, and don't forget Trubisky is not a sitting duck back there. He can move. So, yeah, some of the things we heard before, definitely. I don't know, we cut the fat off with letting go those pass rushers, and they weren't the greatest. I mean, some people like blew up because I mentioned McPhee. I'm not saying they're the greatest. I'm just saying what we have now isn't necessarily better than them. And so it's not like we went up. So I don't know if I agree with that point. But I do agree that people will be smarter after another year in the system, and Vic might be able to be a little more creative. It seems like number 15 offense is kind of that bar that a lot of people are setting for our offense. and I don't disagree with it. That puts you right in the middle of the pack. And with the weapons that, or at least the capital that we put into these weapons, we would expect them to at least produce on that level, especially when we already had a run game in place, which Calvin also points out. So, yeah, thanks for the comment, Calvin. Next up, and I think, this is the last one. We got, Nonsense Nap, who says they expect the Bears to go 10-6. Expects Kyle Fuller to get the most interceptions of his career this year. Expects Floyd to be real dominant and overall top 5 defense. Offense expects top 15 in the air and top 5 on the ground. And expects both Jordan Howard and Cohen to both have 1,000 yards. Okay, so with everything else, I think that's echoing what people have said. Except the Kyle Fuller one. I don't think anyone said that one yet. So pointing out Kyle Fuller specifically, saying that he thinks he's going to have the most interceptions of his career. Nonsense Nap. Maybe. I give it a shot. I definitely wouldn't say it's a strong possibility, but I give it a shot. Only because his career, he hasn't had like crazy numbers yet. So I give it a shot. And even though our pass rush, in my opinion, isn't going to do him any favors, we are going against a schedule that is very favorable with young quarterbacks. So it could be possible. Top 15 in the air, top 5 on the ground. That I don't know. that I don't know. That's an interesting bar to set. Top 5 on the ground I can see. Top 15 in the air. I don't know. I just feel like if we're rushing at a top 5 pace on the ground, I don't know that they'll be putting the ball in Trubisky's hands that much to air it out to be top 15. Overall as an offense, 15, yeah, but top 15 in the air and 5 on ground, no. And then Jordan Howard and Cohen, 1,000 yards plus, sounds good. The only way that happens is if they really reduce Jordan Howard's role. And honestly, when Jordan Howard was hurt and, a little nicked up in the season, they didn't run Tariq Cohen a whole bunch between the tackles. And so that was the last offensive group I know. But I don't know that anybody is ready to put Cohen as a lead back. And I know Landon earlier disagreed and said that he thinks Cohen can be a lead back. I'm not sold yet. I think very much like McCluster or Tyreek Hill or any of those guys they used in Kansas City, I think very much like that Cohen's going to be all over the place. And he's going to get touches. Now, 1,000 yards all purpose, yes, easily. But to say he's going to get 1,000 rushing by himself, by just rushing, I don't know, man. I hope they both can go over 1,000. We really reckon shop like that, but not sure that, that's the expectation I would see, but, clearly you think we're going to be able to utilize both of them in that capacity. Okay. So that's, at least the comments that kind of fit the criteria. But I definitely know people got a lot of thoughts about the Bears, a lot of talk about what they expect. And I'll say again, as far as predicting the games and the records, I'll do a separate prediction video like the day before the season starts. So, we can hold off those comments, and definitely after you see the preseason, I'm sure it'll change for people. So, we can hold off those comments as far as those expectations, because that will be coming. But definitely don't stop. Continue to let me know what you think about the Bears. I like these individual players and their expectations. If you got those, tell me. If you got expectations for Nagy and what he will do as for the Bears as a coach, not just what his record is. His coaching is more than that. So yeah, I'm loving these comments. Keep them coming. So go to the comment section. Start that convo, spread it around, share it around, get the convo started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.